Hello everybody, Dave from BURROW. It's been a while since I've been in front of the camera. We're going to do a different type of video today. Getting away from some of the spider stuff, the tours and everything else, and we're going to do a tools of the trade kind of video. You know, stuff that I think is, you should have as keepers. I've been thinking about doing this for a long time, and then my brother got a hold of me the other day, and he kind of encouraged me, so I decided, what the heck, I'll go ahead and do it and get it over with. So there's kind of quite a bit of things to go over. So hopefully we'll be able to do this in a easily filmable manner, because everything's sitting over here on a table, and there's a few things sitting on my bed yet that we'll bring into the process here. But I hope this can help people get some ideas of some things that they may need. I'm talking Italian here. Yeah, so depending on, what you're doing, and, if it's just a basic, you're just keeping tarantulas. I shaved everything, so I kind of feel weird today. Just the basic things that you really need to get started, and some of the things that you're going to pick up as you go, and, things that if you want to get started and you want to get to things situated to go now, these are some things I think that you're going to need. So without further ado, let's go on and start the process. Okay, everybody, hope this goes okay. I'm over here. How you doing? We're using the front-facing camera this way. I just want to test this out. So if this video quality isn't any good, please let me know, and I will never do this again. But we're going to go over, again, tools of the trade, things that I have a tickle in my throat, so please excuse me. Things that you're going to use directly with the tarantulas, things that you're going to use to create holes in enclosures, things that I would recommend having, some things that you can pick up along the line, as you go. First off, let's go with watering of tarantulas. What do we use? And there's all kinds of different methods. You could use, a little cup like this. You could put water in, dump it in. It's tedious, okay? Back in the day, I used a lot of these. These are just medicine syringes, different sizes. You can see one's a little bit thicker, one's a little bit thinner. I used these for a lot of small arboreal species where I glued the water dish up top. It was a lot easier just for me to suck the water up from a water container and just spray it in. There's also this little guy. Okay, this is a eyedropper. This works great with small vials where you just need to dampen the substrate, because you can control this a little bit better than you can a sprayer type of thing. I also use a turkey baster, which is in my water down below. Which I actually haven't used probably in a couple weeks now, maybe even longer, because I've been using this. Okay, this is a pressurized sprayer. It sprays in a mist, and it'll spray in a straight line. So you can go up on top of enclosure. So if you guys can see over here, there's the water cup right there. I could take the lid off this enclosure and then spray straight down over top of it, with only opening up just a little bit of the lid, moving it off to the side to limit the amount of disturbance in the tarantula's enclosure. So this is what I've been using. I wished I would have bought this years ago, but I only got it a couple months ago, and I absolutely love it. And the reason I didn't get it because I was worried about where I'm going to store it, but I've managed. So there's that. Okay, so you have things that you use for watering. Now, things that you would use for manipulating. Okay, we'll call it manipulating, or moving tarantulas, or moving something in the enclosure. If your enclosure gets a little bit of that kind of goofy little green ball, fuzzy, not fuzzy stuff, but the goofy little green balls that some type of fungus or mold, you can use things like this. And honestly, I've done this a million times. You just get this and you stir the substrate up and it goes away. And if it doesn't go away, we throw isopods in there, or we throw springtails in there to take care of it. And generally, I don't have an issue. It's not harmful for your tarantula. If it gets to an excess where it's really, really thick, and that's why you want to stir it up so it doesn't cling together and it starts to build around the outside of your enclosure. If you saw the which video did I do? Who did I move? I don't remember who I moved now. but you did use, oh, that was my Simulpace pulper male. His bottom part of his enclosure right around his water dish was completely infested with mold. So we took him out, we cleaned him up, but he was in there for over a year. So, you know, it was pretty good for going over a year without having to do any kind of maintenance, real bad maintenance in the enclosure. So you have these. These also work good for, you know, moving your tarantulas. These are just skewers. Okay, you can cut the sharp end off if you want. You got the flat end on this side. You can move them. You can poke this into holes on the side, so you can move them around if you want. This is why I use this, because the holes that I have in most of my containers, I can put a catch cup in the container, put the lid on it, and I can manipulate the spider with this thing from different holes around the sides. So there's that. Of course, the handy dandy paintbrush. I will use these for docile species for moving, but I don't use it very often, to be honest with you, because the way that most paintbrushes are tapered, so they get thicker in one end. This one kind of has a big bulb right here, and then it gets back to skinny again. So without having a hole that big, these aren't really good to use without the lid off. But I do use these for stuff like the Brachypalmas. I've used them for the Euathus species red, or different tarantulas where I just kind of lift the lid and I just want to move them a little bit to get to a bolus or some mold or whatever. These are good for moving. Things like this. This is just a palm leaf from Palm Sunday, for those of you that are Catholic. These are good for just kind of poking or trying to bring the tarantula. I think you guys have seen me use this before, trying to tickle the tarantula out of a burrow. That's what we call it. I don't know why we call it, because we're not actually tickling them, but we're just kind of enticing them to come out. So you can use that for this, or you can also use it for, like, we'll just say, for instance, if we take this, we have a tarantula in here, we want to kind of move it, we could just kind of barely lift the lid off, and you can see I could still move this around anywhere I want to get them to go where I want to. So things like this are good. You can get like goldenrod or stuff like that outside, and you can use, as long as it's not been sprayed by pesticides, you'll be fine. So yeah, manipulating the tarantula. You also have things like this. Okay, I don't use this. I have it, but I haven't used it for. I pulled it out of the drawer, to be honest with you, because it was in a drawer with the tongs. I'll show you in a second. But you know, things like this you can capture a tarantula on there. I always worry about them getting their tarsal claws stuck in here. You know, I've seen other people that do YouTube videos that use these a lot. You know, they have them on hand just in case, and I've seen them, you know, capture them. I guess it's okay, you know, because if you capture them in here and then you put something underneath it and you kind of move them over top and you get them to where you want, and then you put them back in, you know, and then you slide the thing out, and then the tarantula could be sitting there. But if they get their claws in this, it could be a nightmare to get them out of here. So I don't, and I haven't used this yet. Of course, there's tongs, different types and sizes. You can see you have these two. I also have ones that are kind of angled here at the end, and we have these monster ones. These are, I think, 2 foot long, 2 foot or 18 inches. I can't remember. I think it's 2 foot. These I got to use in like long or tall enclosures, pokey enclosures like that one up there. If I need to get to something and I don't want to get my hand in the enclosure at all, you can use this up top. The only problem you have is that the higher up you get, the harder it is to close them. So you really have to be like right about here to close them. So you're really losing this part of it. So anything bigger, you know, than that is not really all that feasible. So you're not using this part, but you do have all the way up here. So if you got smaller ones, you can see smaller ones, you still have to do the same thing. You still got to be right here to close them. So I ordered these off of Amazon because I had got an Amazon gift card from somebody that I coach a team from, and I didn't use it. And I believe I bought these off Amazon with that gift card. So that's really it for moving tarantulas. Of course, different kinds of flashlights that are involved. You know, I have this real skinny one. It's a more concentrated light, so you can look in the burrows much better. This is great for trying just to look in the burrows. And the reason is because the circumference of the light much different than that. And you can see how much different that light is. So, and then I have this one, and a lot of people probably use similar flashlights like this. This is a heavy duty. I mean, this is like really, really heavy, actually. but you could put this into your, you put it in your mouth, put your teeth around it, your lips around it, and then you can be hands-free, and you'll still have the light. There's also ones you can put on your head, which I do have, I just don't use with tarantulas. So those are the basic things that you use directly with the spiders themselves. So we're going to pause here. We're going to go over things that we use to create ventilation holes, catch cups, stuff for magnifying molts, and labeling. And I think that will probably do it. So we'll be right back. Okay, so let's start with magnification. And why do you need magnification? Generally, basically for molts, to sex molts, look at molts. Sometimes you can use them to get closer up pictures or closer up shots, or I mean, if you just want to see your tarantula closer up, I guess you always have the basic magnifying glass. There's also this. I think this was $6. This is a attachment for your phone. It goes right over your camera of your phone, and it goes like around, so it kind of clips over your phone, goes right on the camera. And this is just a, I think, 7-time magnification. It has a built-in light, and it's got batteries. I don't remember if it's, I want to say they're like the watch batteries, the circle batteries. I don't know how long the battery lasts, but I've never really found the light all that beneficial, but it's there. I've used it a few times, but this is much better. If you could find these attachments for your cell phone, unless you're using a DSLR camera and you actually have really good equipment with really good macro lenses on them, this goes right over my phone, and you have 10 times and 15 times magnification, so you can really get a really good idea on putting it right up against tarantula. You'll be able to see the molt. Then we use these. Of course, you guys saw this in the OBT video. At least I hope you guys watched that OBT video. And then just a small LED light that we put behind there to light from the back side of the molt. When you have a light like this behind it and the camera coming this way, the camera picks up much more detail in the molt than it does when you are actually trying to light it this way. And that depends on the thickness of what you're using. If you're using a very thin piece of paper or something like that, it's not a ton different, but you can see more things from backlighting than you can from front lighting. And then there's this piece of equipment right here. This is just a light. It's a lighted magnifier, so you can see here. There's the magnification lens right here. We use these a lot at work for soldering and stuff like that. If you need to solder fine detail, which I'm not very good at with the shaky hands, I always have somebody else do my soldering for me. But this is lighted, so you can focus on what you're looking at. I use this a lot for spreading the molt, so I can actually open up the abdomen part, because you can see much clearer out of this and more magnified, so you can see where the opening is. That way you're not wrecking the molt itself by opening a spot the wrong way, because they do tend to twist a lot of times when they pull out of them. Pins, these are I guess these are called straight pins, and then you have the tack pins, that are different colored, they're plastic. People will tack down the legs on the molt, tack down the area around the fangs or whatever. I usually just pin one right at the fangs, and then the two that open the molt, spread them out, and I get my camera thing right over top of them, and I can take pretty good pictures. I've never really had too much issue with the camera and sexing that way, taking really good pictures that way. So those are basically the things that you're going to use for magnification. So let's get into some of the things that you'll use for the enclosures themselves. Okay guys, here we are in the Burrow, episode 3, Tools of the Trade. I'm going to try to do this as quickly as I possibly can. I've filmed this 5 times. I keep going over that 15-minute mark that I want to keep it into, so let's try to get into this stuff. Let's start with catch cups. Very simple and easy. And again, I always scratch my head sometimes when I watch some YouTube videos on people that use things like this as catch cups, and they only have one hole in the bottom, and they struggle trying to get their spider to get in there, trying to get them up or whatever. So here's an idea for you. Look at all the holes in the bottom of there. Those holes will allow me to get anywhere inside this enclosure I want to, and I also have holes up high here. So again, let me just show you. We'll put the stick in here. I can get to anywhere basically in this enclosure except for just this limited little arc on this side. But that's what the hole over here is for. If the spider's over here, we just turn it around and we get to the other side. We also put holes down here for the same reason. We'll use this one. Spider's being stubborn. Look how far down this can go. We'll get the spider up this way and get it in. This is pretty simple. I have seen some people really struggle with some of these sometimes. And, you know, again, I had somebody that's been keeping for quite a long time that used that one hole, and he's like, why didn't I ever think of that? And it's, you know, again, sometimes you can't see the forest beyond the trees, or can't see trees beyond the forest, or whatever that saying is. But you're looking at something, you're like, okay, this is going to work, and I struggle and struggle and struggle. Why didn't I just think about putting other holes in there? So that's what I do. Again, you guys know what catch cups are. Figure out which ones you need. Have them on hand. A lot of times I forget that when I'm filming too, believe it or not, and I don't have them on hand. But so how do we create those holes? Well, there's different ways, right? This is probably one of the easiest ways, the most toxic way, because you're going to have the fumes from the plastic that you're melting. These do not drill holes, they just melt plastic into a hole. And now what I found is, this is another thing that I want to really quickly touch on. Now you can see this enclosure here. It's not really an enclosure, but it's the catch cup thing. So when I drill these holes, you can hear this. Hear that? Okay, so what I did is just kind of, I didn't want the holes big, so you just kind of put the tip in there just a little bit. But what you should do when you're doing this is to take this tip, or if you're going all the way in with it to make bigger holes, is to go in, if I can get it in a hole there, go in and turn it before you pull it out. That'll cauterize the outside of the hole. And that's what I did with all my larger enclosures. And a lot of times what will happen is that piece of plastic that you cauterized there, you'll be able to flick right off with your knee, and you have knee, with your fingernail, and you have a perfectly flat hole. Much better. So, you know, think about that. And I can show you guys how to do that when I use this again. In the future, I haven't had a real need to do it. I do have, you know, another big enclosure up there that I want to put together, so we'll be able to use this to make the holes in it. Dremel drill. I would recommend it 2-speed. You're going to use the high speed to drill. Some people use the low speed to drill, but you use the high speed to drill, but you have to be careful so you don't catch and, you know, kind of run the drill bit up and not actually penetrate the plastic. Then you're going to have a big ugly scratch that you're going to be mad about. So practicing with these things is huge. This is a battery operated one. It's still in the box. I forgot I even had it. So we're going to charge this puppy up, and we're going to use this to drill some holes in the plastic later. And, you know, with that, of course, you need some type of drill bit to make the holes. Okay, so there's kits for these for Dremel drills, and you can also just buy drill bits and use a battery operated drill if you're comfortable with it. The thing I don't like about the battery operated drills are a little bit more heavy, a little bit more bulky. It takes a little bit more pressure to push. I usually use like 12 or 13 speed on my DeWalt drills when I drill holes in plastic. Oh, we're doing ventilation, dummy. This guy, reamer. Okay, this is what I use on things like deli cups. You kind of just slowly push it, poke it through. They're really, really sharp on the end. And then you just kind of twist it and you get it to a depth of whatever hole you want it to be. They make nice clean holes sometimes they don't. As you can see here, it's made some rough holes. So what you just generally do is go back to the inside and just kind of give it a quick smooth over. Now this one cracked, so it's not going to really work very well. But you can see how clean that hole is right there, and that's done with this. So if you want to know the company, there it is. You guys see that? I think this came from China. Got here in 7 days. It was actually one of the quickest things I ever ordered from China. They got here. So yeah, that's kind of it for holes. You can get like a small scratch awl that can poke holes and things like this, but I wouldn't use them. Try and poke holes into these. These you're going to want to use a Dremel drill. You're going to use the soldering iron. Magnification. Let's get magnification done quick. I know a lot of you guys. This is pretty much basics. Everyday things. Magnifying glass. Duh. Everybody know. Well, yeah. If you want to magnify something, get a magnifying glass. There's this little piece of equipment here. It goes over your phone. This is a microscope. Okay, so when you clip this over your phone, you have the light. This goes over top of whatever you're looking at, and then you'll be able to see it on your camera. And you can take pictures of it that way. The magnification of this is not the greatest. When you get too close, it blurs out. So I'm not a huge fan of this, but I have used it. My favorite tool for magnification with my phone is this. It's just a clip-on macro attachments, 10 time and 15 time power. I love it. That's why I don't want to get a new phone, because I don't have to find a new one of them. And then there's this. This is your standard plug-in magnifying light. I use this on the desk to just open up molts with. It's a lot easier. Along with magnification, you're going to need stuff that you're magnifying, so you're going to use something like this small piece of styrofoam. It's much easier for me to work with, as long as you put something on the bottom so you can't tear it back and forth. You get the light shining from the back. I showed you guys this in the OBT video. So when you shine the light this way, you have much more detail in the mold than you do if you shine the light this way. And you can see why, because the light is shining on the outside, you have the glare, and it actually, the mold will absorb some of your light. So I believe it's much better to backlight anything that you're looking at, trying to sex for a mold. Push pins or straight pins, whatever you want to use. This is the light that I use. Okay, again, this just clips into your microphone attachment for your phone, or you can just hold it to whatever you want to do. Stuff to move spiders with. Of course, my wooden skewers. You guys have seen me use these a million times. Of course, the handy dandy paintbrush. Different sizes, whatever is more comfortable for you. Small piece of something like this. This is a palm branch from Palm Sunday, so any of you that are Catholic, you know what this is for. But you can get like a reed or a weed from outside that's kind of sturdy, that won't, when it dies, it won't like crumble up and become decrepit. Now this eventually will get to the point where I won't be able to use it anymore, but these are good to put in small vials like this, where you can just kind of take the lid off just a little bit. You kind of put this in between that small gap that you open, so that you're not trying to have a small sling escape. I use that to move my 2 small pokies that I mailed out last week. Of course, tongs. Everybody knows tongs. These are the long ones. These are good for long, tall enclosures. 12 inches, 18 inches. These are 24-inch tongs. So with a 12-inch or 18-inch, you're not actually going to get into the enclosure with your hands. You're going to be just above it. So you can use this to pull water dishes out, pull molts out, get pieces of debris, feed, whatever you want to. Those are long ones, and of course, you have different sizes of them. There's all kinds of different sizes, and there's some that have different angles. I don't have my angled ones either because I don't use them very often. They're the same size as these. I got this in a kit with 4 different kinds. And then of course there's the wooden ones. I think they're the bamboo ones or whatever they are, if you feel better about using those. Watering. Okay, quick 3 basic. You have medicine plungers, you have eye plunger, and then you have those, like, I don't even know what they're called. They're just a plastic with a tube on the top, and then it's straight. I know there's a place in Europe, Portsmouth Tarantula, I believe. If you order like their mystery box, of course we can't here in the United States, but for those of you that are in England, if you order something from Portsmouth that's a mystery box, you generally get one of these in there. And I think like a little ring or a little bracelet or something, rubber bracelet, stuff like that. Again, we talked about catch cups, talking about watering. This is a good, I love this thing because you can spray a mist or you can run a stream. Now they do have these that have a hose on them, and then the hose is where you change the method of spraying or straight mist. I didn't want the hose one because it's just too much for me to deal with. Plus it's just something else I have to try and figure out where to put. Other simple things, a knife, maybe wire cutters, pair of scissors. Of course, this bugger here, everybody should have a hot glue gun. I don't recommend the high temp one, though. I would get a low temp one so you don't burn yourself. That may take a little bit longer for the glue to get to the point where you can use it, but when you're trying to glue stuff in there and you got to get your hands in there and you get that long stream, you go to grab it, you end up burning yourself. I've done it a million times. So flashlights, I recommend one of these. This is a small, thin pen light. It's very concentrated, so you can get you can look into a burrow real good. So if you get this up to a burrow, it's going to concentrate the light in the burrow, where some of these other flashlights aren't that. This one here is a little bit more wide light, so it's a little bit wider. This is a little bit wider. I do use this one a lot because it's got a rubber end. I can put this in my mouth if I'm trying to be hands-free. And they also have, of course, the ones that you put on your hat, or I believe they make ones for a visor or a visor light that's got kind of like 4 little LED lights across. So, the only problem with that is you have to move your head wherever you want to get that light to, or you're constantly moving the thing on your head, so I kind of stopped using them. So really, that's it. There's not much more to it. Labeler. please label your tarantulas, not for just your sake. You know, some of you young people that have really, really good memories still get things mixed up, especially New World slings. It's real easy to get them mixed up. You know, what is this, my LP or is this my elbow pelosum? You know, they're this small and they're just brown. There's nothing to them. You can't remember. Not that the care is much different, but it's a lot easier if you label them. You know, and this is cheap from Walmart. This was my wife's. She used a long time ago to put stickers on files and stuff like that when she was teaching at preschool. They have their own at the preschool she's working at now, so I kind of commandeered this one 3 or 4 years ago. Other than that, you know, you're going to want to have spare water dishes. There's 3 different sizes of these. These are the ink tattoo pots. They're very, very cheap. You can pay like $3.99 and you'll get like 300 of them, I think, or maybe $7. You get 300 of these, you know, 100 of each size, small, medium, and large. I like these a lot. They're great for slings, much better than the water dish or water bottle lids and stuff like that. I found that those are much easier to work with, and they keep the water in them longer than the other things do. Plus, you can get them down to substrate a little bit easier as well. Other simple, stupid stuff that you may not think of: Ziploc bags to store like leaf litter or live moss or bark or dirt or sand or stuff like that, and then you can stack them all together, put them in a bin, and then put like a sticker on top of the bin and say what's in there. So you'll be able to figure out what you have, especially if you have multiple bins with different things in them. You know, I have like a bin with decor. I have one with, you know, plants, plastic plants and stuff like that. But I have it all strewn all over. That's my problem, is I have a bunch of stuff over here, a bunch of stuff over in my closet. So my goal this week is to consolidate everything, have it all on one hand, or not on one hand, but all in a place where I can get to it easier. You know, so if we took these dresser drawers, which are filled with spider stuff, the bottom 3, household things that we need, like screws and nails and stuff like that, and pictures and some other things, stuff with the kids are in the top 2 drawers. So I have a dresser that doesn't have any clothes in it. Yeah, so label your bins with the stuff that's in it. That's my goal for, you know, this week. Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's not much more. You know, always have water on hand. You could use a turkey baster too for watering, which I used to use. I still do every now and then, but I haven't used it in a while. So you could have a turkey baster. It's sitting down below here in the big water jug. I always use 2 different types of waters. I use filtered water, and I use distilled water. I use distilled water for watering my spiders and for cleaning the sides, because it doesn't leave water spots on the plastic or the glass. I use the filtered water to give water for the geckos. And I use the filtered water for the whip scorpions too. I don't use distilled water because I don't know if I can use distilled water for them or not. I'm sure I can, but I know a lot of people say don't use distilled water, but there's really nothing wrong with distilled water. So, okay. If you guys use just regular water, tap water, my advice would be just to, I know a lot of people I just took it out of tap and used it when I did. A lot of people say put it in a jug, leave the jug open for 24 hours, and that'll kind of dissipate any of that fluoride stuff that's in some people's waters. I don't know. So I'm going to pause you guys here, and we'll finish up with just one more quick thing. So I hope you guys watch this all the way to the end. Okay, ending, take 10. Yeah, this is the 10th time I've done this ending part. I just end up not liking what I'm talking about. But okay, so Chris, my brother, was the one that inspired me to do this video. Not really inspired me, but kind of pushed me a little bit. I wanted to do it before. If you guys remember back in February, I said, well, I want to do this beginners or new keepers series so that we can go over different parts of the hobby and different things. I have a whole bunch of stuff written down, so we're just going to implement them into in the BURROW series. And the first part's going to be the tools of trade that we just went over. And again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned something. I didn't do it to diss anybody, of course. That's not what I do this for. I don't do it to think, you know, make people say, oh, he's much smarter than anybody else. That's not how I do it. I just do this stuff so that people can you know, find better and different ways to do things that they're doing. And if I reach just a handful of people with this video, then it makes it worth it for me. You know, when people say, hey, you know what, I tried that, it's great, I'm going to keep on doing that, that makes me feel good because I know that I helped somebody do something a little bit easier or you know, changing their husbandry to you know, make it more comfortable for the spider and things like that. I get a lot of people contact me and say, hey, you know, what do you think about this? this is what I have this guy in. What do you think? Should we move him? Or, you know, is this kind of enclosure going to be okay for this, or stuff like that? I actually get quite a few of that, and it's more private messages than it is anything, which is great, because I don't mind talking to people that are subscribers, or even people that, you know, or the people that are on the Facebook groups and stuff like that. But yeah, so here it is. The video's done. It's going to be uploaded. I know stuff like this gets a little bit boring for people, so there's going to be a video that's put out either prior to this or after this. It's going to be a little bit of questions and a little bit of information on what's going on with Dave, because I can't believe over last week how many people have asked me, you know, how's the MD, how's the ankle, how's this, or how's that, and so you're going to find out. My wife always gets mad when I say I'm going to do a video of that, because I shouldn't put my private life out there for everybody. But I think it's good that people get to know me as a person and realize that I am just a person, just like anybody else that's out there on the other side of this screen. So, okay, again, you guys know what to do. Bell, subscribe, like, comment. I will put my email down below. I don't know if the tag descriptions are actually coming through. It seems like they're not. I made default ones on my account that should be uploaded every time I do a video. For some odd reason, it seems like they're not. So I may have to go back and figure out what I did, or maybe I didn't hit something to actually keep them or save them. We'll find out. If I go back to my stuff and they're all there, then I need to get a hold of somebody and say, well, why aren't they uploading? Okay, so again, the prior video may have been boring, or the video that's coming up may have been a little bit boring. And again, it's probably not going to get a ton of views, but at least people will get an idea of what's going on. There's a lot of people new that don't know what's going on with Dave, and you know what? It's not like it's a daily struggle, but sometimes it can be a daily struggle. So we'll talk to everybody soon. Have a great week, and you're going to see the same outfit in that video. So I'm not changing just for that video. We'll see you guys later.